Protractors are tools used to measure angles. Now, the key with protractors is to line up your angle going through 0 on the protractor. But wait, there's actually 2 zeros on this protractor. There's one over here on the left, and there's one over here on the right. So how do you know which of the zeros you should line up your angle with? Well, it actually doesn't matter. You can measure an angle from either side of the protractor. The key is you count going up from whatever 0 the angle is lined up with. For example, let's say we have this angle here that measures, well, I won't tell you just yet, but this angle is made up of 2 rays. Now, the way I drew it, one of those rays is going through 0. Yep, down here at the bottom. It's lined up along the bottom of the protractor. So whichever side of this angle is lined up with 0, that's where you start counting, and you always want to make sure you're counting up from there. So from 0, I'm counting 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and as you might guess, we're going to keep on counting until we hit the other ray of that angle. So here's where you really have to keep track of where you're counting, because it's very easy to look at this angle and see it pointing right at the 60 and say, oh, this angle must be 60 degrees. But again, there's 2 sets of numbers here, and you have to know which of those numbers to use. Because we counted up from 0, though, we should keep on going 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. The 120 is the number that we get when we truly start from 0 and count up. Notice that the blue numbers are going down from there. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so this angle has a measure of 120 degrees. Another way that you can tell which of those 2 numbers it should be is just by using common sense and thinking about whether that angle you're measuring is obtuse or acute. If it's obtuse, that means that it's more than 90 degrees. If it's acute, that means it's less than 90 degrees. Well, in this case, our angle is obtuse, which means that its measure should be greater than 90 degrees. So between these 2 numbers, 120 is the number that makes the most sense. Here's another example of an angle here where the measure is 75 degrees. And I get that, again, by looking at 0 and then counting up from there. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. It's somewhere between 70 and 80. In this case, it's halfway in between. Here's an example of that same angle, which is 75 degrees, but measured from the other side. Now, our angle is lined up with 0 to the right. So that means we're using this inner set of numbers in blue to count up from 0. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 75. And here's one more example where here our angle is very obtuse. It's really wide. We can see that it's going through 0 on this side, so we'll use those inner numbers in blue to count. So starting from 0, we count up all the way around, all the way until we get to the other side of the angle. In this case, if we were counting 10, 20, 30, all the way up to 120, 130, 140, 150, we're not quite at 160, we're somewhere in between. So this again looks like it's halfway in between, so our measure is 155, again, because it's between 150 and 160.